Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Like that, let's put it online and see what happens stage.
And the site is live.
That we opened a store and need a fast checkout stage.
Thanks. You're all set.
That count it up and ship it around the globe stage.
This one's going to Thailand.
And that, wait, did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Whatever your stage, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen.
Fucking gave it right back to him. This team is fraudulent. This whole team is fraudulent. It's just a nonstop garbage festival. International Food and Garbage Festival. Unbelievable. Ay, ay, ay.
Hello again. It's another episode of the One Star Cowboys podcast. I'm Kevin Turner with John Machota, Saad Youssef, and Kent Garrison. And this is kind of our, clean up the game, but it's not our preview for the Ravens yet. This is the buffer. This is always a fun episode. We can get into a lot of different things here. I would have given a lot to have been a fly on the wall during the Cowboys defense film review. Did you guys learn anything from the coordinators and Mike McCarthy speaking yesterday out at the Star?
I think Mike Zimmer is probably the thing that stood out most to me, because you look at somebody like him where you're like, all right, this is the first time we've got a chance to talk to him when there's been disaster. And so because of that, you're like, how is this guy going to handle this? It's been all pretty much positive his entire time here. And I thought he did a good job handling it, because much like throughout that game, because it was getting so out of hand in the second half, I found myself with my binoculars looking over at Zimmer and McCarthy a lot, because there's a part of me that thinks with younger coaches, you could see maybe some, I'm not saying yelling at each other, but maybe like just some animated moments. And those two dudes have been doing it for so long that it was just like, there was no change at all in the way that they carried themselves on the sideline. You wouldn't really know if they were up or down in that game. And hey, when I'm saying that, I'm sure people are listening to this saying, well, maybe there needs to be more of that. I've seen people talk about how there's not enough fire and things like that. I get that. There has also been some of that in the past, and also it didn't lead to any parades either. So, there's two different ways to do this, but Zimmer handled it like a pro's pro. Like, he's been around for a long time. He's seen this stuff before. He brought up the pickle juice game that was the season opener in 2000, where they got blown out 41-14 to the Eagles. And, he vowed at that time to fix what was wrong, and he did. And he brought that up as saying, I fixed it then. And that's why he's confident that he can do this here as well. The part that kind of stood out to me, and not that I expect him to say anything different, is just that he feels like they do have the defensive tackles to get this run game fixed. And I think for far too long, we've sat there and gone at, well, the personnel, the investment in the personnel just really hasn't been there. So you're almost living on this hope that whether it's Rod Marinelli or Dan Quinn or Mike Zimmer, it's one of these guys are just going to coach him up, and they're going to find a way. They're going to put in Nick Hayden, or they're going to fix it with Malik Collins or Neville Gallimore. And this thing's been going on for a long time, where you just look around after some of these games and you're just like, well, yeah, I don't know why this personnel would be able to stop it, but he maintains that he thinks he does have the guys to be able to stop it and fix this run game. And frankly, I'm fascinated to watch it. I'd love to see it. I would be fascinated to see if there's not another game like this for the rest of the season. I will be fascinated. I can't wait to watch.
To build off of John's point there, it reminds me a lot about the safety situation. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of coaching you're trying to do and stuff until you get the personnel in there. Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Jaron Kearse a couple years ago when he was still at the top of his game. Until you don't get the personnel in there, there's not really, the coaching, it's not really a coaching thing until you have the players that can get it done. So that's on that. But KT, I'll kind of extend it to Zimmer and the players as well. I was just kind of, it was nice to see the accountability. Everyone was kind of taking ownership for it. And I know that's like bars on the ground type of comment, but in the past, like we've heard from Micah Parsons himself, like hey, sometimes you just get schemed out of a game or like there was none of that. Micah was talking about how it was on the players. He said that after the game. He said that on Twitter after the game. He said that on his podcast. And then Zimmer stood up there and said, no, it's all on me. I got to do better. I got to coach him better. Like, I know, like, you can't believe a whole lot of what is said, publicly. Like, that's not probably how everyone feels exactly. But I do feel it's the right approach to look in the mirror after that sort of situation and be like, hey, we all need to get our act together. We all need to do better.
It's funny how I don't know if you guys got a chance to rewatch the game. I definitely did, and really didn't do much of watching of the second half. But it's funny to rewatch it when you know what's going to happen and know what the problem is, because you can really watch for it. And I do not feel good. Like, I feel so bad about Jordan Phillips and Linval Joseph. They were thrown back. And that was something that you're just kind of watching. And that's not the only problem. But, Mozzie Smith, actually, of those guys, looked better than those guys did. But that's not saying anything. And it kind of reiterated something that we've known a little bit about the Cowboys over the years. And I hate that this is a recurring theme. If they are down and they are not in a position where they know the other team is going to need to throw, they're not very good. And that's what happened. I mean, we saw the numbers, 16 pass attempts for Derek Carr. Like, I don't know if Micah Parsons being on the defensive line is your best strategy if they're not going to have to throw the ball at all. And that's where I don't even know. I mean, we can go back and use the Shanahan thing and use that coaching tree and scheming up against that, but it's really just more of a thing of, if the Cowboys don't know if it's going to be a run or a pass, it can look bad sometimes. And I'm trying not to overreact over a week 2 game, but that was
I just don't know on that point, though, real quick. I don't know what Micah playing linebacker would have done any better.
Yeah, exactly.
You might as well have your best defensive player near the line of scrimmage, because that's where your issues are starting at. And to your point about the Joseph and Jordan Phillips thing, and that's Linval Joseph, just in case somebody thought I might have been talking about Kelvin Joseph, but no.
Yeah.
But those two guys, they're not Marquise Bell, where they're a safety, and they're like, well, hey, we're kind of hit by injuries here, so we're going to need you to play linebacker.
Yeah.
They're not defensive ends. They're defensive tackles that have done it for a long time, and they're brought in because they need help stopping the run. Like, there's no secret. There was no like, hey, we're going to come out with this weird game plan. I know this isn't what you guys are used to doing. Like, there's no surprise attack. This is what you do. And when you say watch the game over, I'll tell you, I can't get past the part that really gets me is that there's been plenty of times we talk about the Arizona game, the Packers game, whatever. People talk about how it snowballs and then they never get it back. And that is, I completely agree with that with the Cowboys. We've seen this for several years now. But I will say there was a moment, though, when Dak hits CeeDee Lamb for that touchdown. You're at home, wild play, get you right back into the game. You're within a touchdown. Like, that is a momentum-changing play at that point. I think it was like midway through the second quarter. Like, you're back in that game. Crowd is back in that game. Defense, what are you going to do? They're going to start on the 30. They're going to take 5 minutes and go 70 yards on your ass. Like, that was that part right there where they couldn't even do anything to answer that. That to me was the most alarming when I watched the first half over again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll be real quick. So that I wasn't even thinking. Like, when I watched the game, I was almost like reminded that the game actually got close again in the second quarter. I was like, forgotten.
I'm venting because I see people on Twitter, because after the game, Saad and I, so pretty early on, Saad turned to me and said, hey, I'm probably going to write defense off this game. And I go, yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, they're playing awful or whatever. But as the game went on, I was like, I had plans on writing, because the way it looked after the CD pass, I was like, I might write about how Dak wasn't the Dak we saw in Green Bay, where he threw the interception and he helped it. He didn't do anything to snowball. But the game got so bad where I just turned to Saad towards the end of the game, and I was like, well, I'm writing defense too. And I saw people comment, like in some of our stories and on Twitter and other people's stuff too as well, saying about, well, what about the offense or whatever like that? I'm like, hold on. They're taking on so much water over here in the basement. I'm not worried about the roof right now. We'll fix that thing later. This is the issue that we have to focus on right now. Like, that isn't even, like, I can't even get to that right now,
Another narrative coming out of the game, Alvin Kamara running all over this team. He did have a great day. but Derek Carr threw all over this team. I mean, wide open receivers, Chris Olave, wide open, big screen pass, run from Kamara was a pass. Need to look at that too. Not only the run defense, but the defense overall. And after that big bomb to Rashid Shaheed, Cowboys needed to get 6 there. You have to answer there. And you have a Jalen Brooks missed block followed by a sack. And it keeps you out of that, basically keeping it a ball game at that point. To me, that's the turning point of the game. It was right before the CD bomb where you needed 6 and you didn't get 6. Thanks to Jalen Brooks. And then Jalen Brooks fell down on the next drive and caused an interception. So great day for Jalen overall.
It's kind of wild though. Like the Cowboys and the Panthers have made the Saints look like absolute world beaters in a year where scoring's kind of down right now too. And if you look at the roster, it's like, I just don't think that's who they are. And
just let a team stop the run on them.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over.
It seems kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's not easy. Maybe just not stopping the run's not easy. I don't know. I did have something. I'm curious how you guys feel about this. I did have something I didn't like and I usually give our quarterback a free pass, but he did say something after the game that I really didn't like. And it was a comment about basically it's why no one can, listen to the media. We can't be reading the media. Basically said, y'all might have built the Saints up or whatever. And I'm paraphrasing here. I guess I have the audio technically. I could play it. I've got it on my computer. I think can I share that, Kent? If y'all want to hear it. But I don't know if y'all thought twice about this. Again, I am pretty lenient on Dak. But I'm gonna play this and see if y'all can hear this, because I just, for whatever reason, I didn't like this answer, and it kind of reminded me of a little bit of that defeatist attitude that comes out of this team when they're losing. So see if y'all can hear this.
Dak, Todd Archer, ESPN. Can you talk about the week-to-week nature of this league? Last week you guys were riding a high in Cleveland, and then to have today, is this just the way the league goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. I talk about each and every week. No games are played on paper. As far as riding a high, I know I wasn't personally. I don't think the guys in the locker room necessarily were. I mean, I talked about how much meat we left on the bone offensively. And that's simply why you can't listen to other people's opinions and read what you guys write respectfully. I mean, yeah, y'all may have put this team on a high more than we should have been, and now we just simply have got to reset. We've got to respond. We're not going undefeated. I mean, hadn't been done in 50 years. Woo, surprise. So.
I don't know. Am I being a jerk here?
I mean, I didn't have too much of a problem with that, just because, yeah, I mean, I guess like it like they weren't really riding high, and I think, and like in terms of Dak in particular, I remember in that Thursday press conference, probably the quote of his press conference was how they left some meat on the bone. So I think he kind of took exception to that a little bit, where it almost felt like a little accusatory that, hey, you guys were just like full of yourself last week, and now look at you. You lost by 25 at home to the Saints. And I think he just kind of took that a little personally, and I can see where he came to that. And then also him saying last week that they left some meat on the bone, and I understand that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I didn't really like that. Didn't really make me flinch at all when he said that.
KT, he said respectfully.
He did say respectfully.
You can say whatever you want if you're going to say respectfully. But no, real quick on that. Yeah, I must have missed that game where against the Saints where they just lost like 28-13. That answer he gave fits that. It doesn't fit that game. That doesn't fit that game at all. I'm sorry. The Saints, literally, for that answer to fit that game, Saints would probably have to win at least 12 to 13 games and at minimum be the 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. So if that happens, we can revisit it. I feel very confident betting that that's not going to happen. And so because of that, that's why I don't necessarily love that answer. I don't really love the whole idea that, a lot of stuff that, let's say, especially Dak, because he's so good with the media and he's so well thought out. I mean, he could do whatever, PR, be on TV, do whatever. some of the, like, a lot of times the stuff he shares there is stuff that McCarthy has said to the team right after the game. And McCarthy hit big. McCarthy hit big after the game on the whole, like, hey, we're just not going to go undefeated now. And again, I mean, maybe it's because I left my seat for a second to go get a cake ball, but I must have missed the part where this game was close. I must have missed the part where the Saints were, the Chiefs. That's the part where those answers work. I mean, I sat there after the game joking with another reporter going the whole, hey, what are we going to hear? They pay their guys too? I mean, it just like, you just knew that there was going to be something. And I get that. Well, what else are you going to say? But that was such a ass beating that it's hard to sit there and just go off of those things. Like, they lose a close game, it's way different. This is the NFL. It's a league of parity. To get blown out like that at home by the Saints week 2, like, come on, what are we doing?
Well, McCarthy said something too, like he was like shocked it's the NFL. I'm paraphrasing again, but to the point of maybe I should just start throwing candy out there. Maybe I should BS y'all like everyone else does. And
there's no way he thought that they could take this first 6 possessions and go and just dog walk them every single time, touchdown after touchdown. I don't think Mike McCarthy in his entire coaching career has ever gone in a game thinking that could happen to one of his teams.
And that's why this stood out to me just a little bit. And I think you guys know that I'm pro, if Micah wants to go do a podcast, I don't care. I think our audience knows that. I just want to be clear on that. But for Dak to say what he said, and then McCarthy's kind of doing that thing, and it's reminded me of, Dak and McCarthy after the San Francisco game where, hey, we ran out of time, but let's go ahead and blame the game on the refs. I mean, that was Dak's lowest moment. It really was to me. But the other side of it is, hey, we can't pay attention to what any of you guys are saying. Dude, under an hour before the game's over, Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball is on Twitter screaming at everyone that this is not on Mike Zimmer, which is cool and fine. But I'm just like, it's not like we're all rolling in the same direction on that message. Those are little things that just jump out to me. They don't bother me, but it's just something that I went, huh.
Well, hey, check this out.
You hardly get anything from Dak,
Off that point, Zimmer also said that they had not had a practice that looked anything like that. Then he was trying to find another way to compare it and said that they haven't had 5 plays in a practice that it looked as bad as that game.
What do you put on, or how much stock do you put on the fact that this loss came against a McVay coaching tree, Shanahan coaching tree guy offensively? The Green Bay one obviously did as well. Our coaches, McCarthy and Zimmer, more old school, to put it lightly. Anything there, and just different mentalities, and they're not maybe up to speed on these new teams on what they're doing offensively?
My quick takeaway on that is I think it's less specific to the coaching tree, and it's more specific to unpredictability does something to this defense.
Yeah.
In all defenses, but specifically this one, where your best player, who is a defensive player of the year candidate, somehow is not that important to the core of the team. Although I would hate to see what that game looked like without Micah on the field. But
yeah,
when the other team doesn't have to throw it but 15 times, he's not a game changer. And maybe he is if you put him in off-ball linebacker. I don't know. Like, it's an easy thing to say. So I think the misdirection and unpredictability of it, it's not like they came out and just were trying to run the ball. It's not like in that Packers playoff game, the Packers were coming out and they got ahead of you, and then they ran the ball when you should have known the run was coming and you still couldn't stop it. It's just an insane indictment on this right now. And I think it's not having enough dudes. And it's a wild thing to say after week 1 when we're praising Eric Kendricks and Kalen Carson, but none of the guys we were praising were defensive tackles. And that is a problem spot and still is. You watch the Eagles play? Who looks really good? Jalen Carter. Now, you weren't in that position to go draft him, but it'd be sure nice to have a guy like him. And they made trades to go get him. I'm not saying you should have done that. Doesn't make sense. It would have been a huge jump. But we got blue chip players at that position.
They used a 1st-round pick on Mozzie Smith. They used a 3rd-round pick on Osa Odigizua.
Fun fact of the day, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and CeeDee Lamb all have more tackles this year than Mozzie Smith.
This is a great question brought up in our Discord.
Enjoy that.
Who's the last great defensive tackle that has been drafted by the Cowboys?
Jay Ratliff. I don't know. I wouldn't call him great, but he was the last one that I thought of as like a perennial Pro Bowler.
7th round.
That was a nice tackle by Dak, by the way.
It was a good.
Let's not let that get lost in the shuffle.
Every penny, worth every penny. Look, I think he got credit for half a tackle. I think Zeke got credit for a half tackle. I think CeeDee Lamb got a full tackle. I don't know. It's Mozzie Smith's not expected to load up the box score, and again, compared to his cohorts on the defensive line, he actually was not the worst of those guys. I think just after a quick rewatch of the first half, which is not saying too much.
You think Zimmer gave him like a game ball and said that on there?
No, man, hey, you weren't the worst. That's a very Michael Scott award, isn't it?
Have you guys watched that, by the way? Have you guys watched like at the end of games or something where I guess Tom Brady gives out like a player of the game or something?
Yeah, the LFG player of the game. Yeah.
I mean, is this necessary?
I guess
he was way better this game. I don't know if you guys were watching the broadcast or while you're at the game or went back and watched it. Much improved from week 1 for Tom Brady.
I thought he was better too. I also thought Kevin Burkhardt teed him up like out of the gate.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, Tom, tell us about this. Tom, this is your turn to talk. You have to talk now. So just keep getting better, Tom. One day after that, it's a process. You guys know the drill. He's doing stuff. Quick look at anything else you guys want to talk about involving the game?
I was just going to say on that part, I really don't care about cadence or him talking over somebody or him talking when the play is going on. I wouldn't care about any of that if it's all going to be like really, this is Tom Brady type stuff. I saw him do an interview recently with Belichick where he was talking about how, I can't just break it down all this like, cover 2, this and that, because like every fan's not going to understand that or whatever. And there's a part of me where I'm like, no, that's what we want. Let's do more of that. If my mom can't understand it, that's fine. Like, no, let's do more of that. Like when there's cover 2 in the situation, I do this, da 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 da. Like, I really like the answer on the Jalen Brooks thing about him saying how he wouldn't go back to a receiver in that situation. And it is interesting to hear that because as somebody that has watched the Cowboys closely throughout Dak Prescott's career, one of the things I will always say about Dak is he has never been shy about going back to some receiver or, tight end running back that's let him down. Like he is notorious for spreading the ball around sometimes where I'm just kind of like, why are you even like, just keep feeding CD, like I guess I didn't focus enough on this, but like, how do you come out of that game with Brandon Cooks only having 2 targets, like I don't know. There's a part of me where I wonder, like, almost like I think he was like, I kind of agree with Brady on there. Like after a certain thing, like I'm not going back, and you'll build your confidence in practice by not making that mistake again. And I know accidents happen and stuff like that, but like Dak has never been like that. That's why he's so beloved by the team because he really does bring everybody together, And when there is you slipped or whatever, don't think for a second, I'm not coming right back to you. And he'll put the trust in some of these guys that I think a lot of people would be like, I don't know if I would do that in that situation, but he has.
Want to give a shout out to Brandon Aubrey too, though, KT, for this game.
Absolutely.
Have we ever seen anything like this? It's unbelievable. Doesn't matter where it is, when it is. This guy's literally automatic. I'm kind of worried, though, if it comes down to like, we really need a 31-yard field goal to win this game. Do you take a penalty and move it back to 50?
I did see a stat where the NFL kickers over 50 yards this year are kicking at a higher rate than ever. So it's not just him, but it is him, and he's the guy who can absolutely nail one from 70 this year. They took a timeout and they tried to freeze him, and he kind of steps back 10 yards, and he just goes through that little warm up, and it's like he barely moves his leg, and then you watch the kick and you realize his leg goes all the way above his head because he's awesome. That and the Schoonmaker one-handed catch. Those are your One Star Cowboys podcast plays of the game. Your player the play of the game is the Schoonmaker catch.
What about the Tolbert catch?
Okay, the Tolbert catch. Okay, I was trying to throw Schoonmaker a bone because I walked away kind of unimpressed. Is that bad?
And unimpressed as in you don't think he can contribute, or unimpressed because they used a 2nd-round pick on him?
Yes, your draft slot matters.
Yeah, because I was going to say if he's Jake Ferguson, 4th, 5th round pick type thing. I think he looked pretty good. But when you use a 2nd round pick and a tight end, like I guess I shouldn't do this, but I'm like, maybe there's like a Sam Laporta upside here or whatever, you know? But then again, you know what? They used a 2nd round pick on Gavin Escobar.
Yeah, true. Rest in peace.
And there's plenty of, you know, tight end is a hard position to really project. There's been, I mean, just, and I don't play fantasy, but anybody that you know that does, I mean, I'm pretty surprised that Kyle Pitts has done what he's done. Like I thought he'd be way more productive, you know. So it is tough to project.
On Noah Fant, you know, they're still waiting on.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And then to find, you know, a Kelsey later, to find a Rob Gronkowski later, you know, I don't know.
Okay,
I thought Schoonamaker was fine.
A quick look around the division, guys. I want to do this real quick, and I'll start with question 1. Are you guys tired of the Kelsey brothers? We know one is enough. We are getting some overexposure at this point, and I think they're good dudes. But man, Monday Night Football last night made the entire broadcast about Jason Kelsey returning. I mean, I was like, it was just kind of crazy to me. I was like, just let the guy just do the thing. He's a sinner.
I might be the wrong person to ask on this because I get that way about anything in sports, just probably because I live on Twitter. And so I would put it in the same box for me as Kirk Herbstreit's dog and Scott Hansen being the reason that there's even NFL games. Like it just, I mean, just what he does is just, I mean, nobody could do it. Nobody could, I mean,
yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for bringing NFL games back. And it's not his fault. I'm just saying, like if you're on social media a lot, like especially week 1, I'm just kind of like, you know, hey, I'll give you a great comp to it too. My man that was that looks like Babe Ruth that does the Hall of Fame stuff. Like the way that like he became like the presenter of like knocking on the door for everybody like that was almost like he has chosen you for this. It's just like that's a panel of people that never get to talk. You know what I'm saying? Like you never get to talk to the panel of people that actually presented you and picked you. How many people know who Shereen Williams is? How many people know who Dave Burkett is? How many people know who Rick Gosselin is? You know, I mean, I know people do, but how many people, and it makes it look like it's just like, I am choosing you for this. His name's David Baker. Sorry.
It's easier to brand one guy.
But and in all these situations, I just want to say, I don't think it's those individual people's fault necessarily because we're just so oversaturated with things, but it makes it easy for where you're just like, and you can bring right into Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and all of them like that. They just get on TV. So it's just being thrown in your face all the time. And so, yeah, I've gotten a little tired of how much, Jason Kelsey is going to be at the game. Well, no kidding. What else is he doing? Like, why is this a big surprise? I'll tell you, Belichick's kind of gotten that way for me. I'm just kind of like, dude, how bad do you want one of these coaching jobs? Like, I can't believe you're doing as much TV as you do. I mean, I get these transcripts sent to me, and he's talking about how great the Cowboys and Eagles look. And part of me is sitting there going, do they look great? Or are those the 2 most interesting jobs that could be open in January? You know?
No, it's interesting. They're all over the place. The Saquon Barkley big drop last night. So the Falcons end up getting the ball and really struggling to move the ball all night. Final drive of the game. They do, and they get the win. So the Eagles lose. Everything's fine, right? Dude, what wash away Sunday. The Eagles lost. We'll just start anew. That'll be fine. And then the Giants and Commanders was interesting because of really how that game went down. 7 field goals from the Commanders. And Brian Dable chose not to put an extra kicker on the roster, even though he knew Graham Gano was hurt. It's like, man, it feels like that would have been a simple play. And maybe you win that game if you have a kicker who can make an extra point. They ended up having to go for 2 pretty much all game and not getting it. And the Giants are just a complete shit show. So there's your NFC East report.
Not to say that a lot of things Jerry's been saying recently might and actions as well might make you think he's losing his fastball. But to end his radio interview this morning on 105.3, he mentions that he's asked about the Eagles game and he doesn't know the outcome.
What?
Like, I don't get how that wouldn't come across his desk, and I've listened to these things. I don't know that there's a Jerry Radio interview over the last 15 years that I've missed, and I couldn't believe that he didn't know like that the Eagles lost that game. Like he didn't know the score or anything. Like that's usually his like go-to. Like, oh yeah, I watched that game, even though you're like, did you really watch all that game? I was a little surprised that he had no idea about that. Seems like one of those that you'd probably know.
Yeah, no, that's a weird one for sure, because at least someone would have briefed him, maybe, you would think. Other league news and notes, and then we'll get to some Discord questions, because we got a bunch. Panthers benching Bryce Young. Andy Dalton's back in Carolina. Oh, boy. I thought they might just ride it out and just be terrible, and Bryce Young's just got to take the lumps and get ruined. I don't know what they're doing there. What a mess. And this is what happened when rich people get impatient. They get impatient. They start doing things they shouldn't do. They start making decisions they know nothing about. And then it all goes to pot.
How many rookie quarterbacks do you think would have success in that situation?
It's hard to imagine anybody, right?
Maybe Mahomes, but even he got his chance to sit a little bit. Maybe Burrow.
Maybe Joe. Yeah. Had Joe Brady there at the time, right?
No, I'm saying I want to use apples to apples. I want to use this exact situation.
Caleb? I mean, he's struggling
he's doing
bad
a
with the
great
Bears.
job. Yeah, he would do it.
And Caleb is highly talented. I don't know.
Who's the best rookie quarterback that you've seen? I'm trying to think, like, who is the best one to come in? I feel like so often that's also connected with there's a good team around them,
Dakota Prescott.
Yep, and there was a good team around him.
Was Burrow good rookie year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good, right?
Yeah.
It might be him. I'm having a hard time thinking like guys who didn't have to sit. Yeah, I don't know. Tua not going on IR and not retiring. It was a little bit weird that everyone, including Des Bryant, are telling a guy, you got to quit. NFL's got to step in. Like I could definitely easily think that in my head. I think I would have a hard time publicly going, man, you're not allowed to do this thing. But also, he didn't know how to take hits. It's very strange. It's very strange. I don't know. I'm torn on that one because we all feel like, we all know what it looks like when he gets knocked out, and it's terrible and no one wants to see it anymore. But I don't know.
No way would I retire right now if I was him. I would wait, even if I knew 100% I'm retiring, I would never do it right now, because then it makes it seem like I'm just reacting to what everybody else is saying. I would do it at the end of the season, maybe tell like some people, hey, I'm not going to really play, but I'm not going to say anything until after the season's over. But there's no chance I would do it right now. And I don't see any way that he does either, to be honest with you.
With Cooper Kupp injured, him and Puka are out, Debo hurt. So, hey, NFC's still attainable, fellas. Don't worry about Sunday. You guys want to handle some Discord questions?
Go.
All right. Here we go. From the Dawn. Are we overreacting since it's still technically the preseason of the season, or are there real concerns?
I'd say there's real concerns just because it looks similar to the way it did. There's just too much that looks like Arizona. There's too much that looks like Green Bay. There's some that looks a little bit like Denver, if you want to go back to that game at Denver. I do think that this team will still be a good team. I just don't see enough that makes me think that they can win that 3+ games in January to make a deep run. Someone is going to come by with the Shanahan scheme or a good running game, and I don't know. It's really tough to buy in all the way.
Feed Zeke 817. A lot of people want to know what happened with Overshown today and why he wasn't on the field that much.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote something about snap counts this morning, and it was pretty much just a matter of, they were in base defense, and he's not somebody they have in base defense as much, and so, yeah, I think it's just more about that, and whether that changes and he gets more implemented into the base defense, or if they do something to get him on the field. I mean, that's the only thing that has to change. But there was no like injury or anything.
Yeah, and you see that it's like he comes off after week 1. You're like, okay, this is maybe one of our more dynamic players on defense. And then, I was talking to someone yesterday, and they're like, "This Liufau, why is he on the field so much?" And I realize we have positions and things like that, but we're putting your best 11 on the field, right? That would kind of like him to play more than 18 snaps, especially in a game like that.
I wonder if it got to a point where they're just like, with how bad the defensive line was playing against the run, that they're just like, it's not like he's going to even have the freedom to make any big plays. Let's not play him as much as maybe we anticipated, and let's get Liufau out there more, because they do have pretty high hopes for him as well. It's not like I would say Damone Clark being out there was a little bit more surprising to me than Maris Liufau.
And this question is about the offense from Zach Vac. Do you guys think the offense feels the same as it did to start last year? It seems like less motion, less creativity all around so far. I don't know that I have an answer on that.
Yeah, I'm not great with that either. Comparing it to they just never been a team where, like the Rams, where they just motion and move a ton of, I don't know. Like, again, it's hard for me to sit there and really judge the offense just because it was not even close to being the issue on Sunday. I mean, I will say this. I think everything takes care of itself if they can figure out a way to run the football. And I have a lot of questions about that ever happening. So that would be a part that would contribute more than I would think. Like, if you're not going to have any sustainable running game, if you're averaging 3.5 yards a carry or whatever it is right now through these first two, like, you're not. The offense is going to be limited.
Yeah. I think too, like, some of these questions are going to be things where we don't really know the answer to, and we don't really know what they're thinking yet in terms of their tendencies and things, especially in 2 games that weren't close. I think that's where you really find out a lot about teams. It seems 27-24, and you really have teams who throughout the whole game in the second half are really giving it their best shot. You kind of can get a little bit more intel about what the team's up to, because and I'm prefacing that was LKC Light said, why isn't Hunter Lipke involved more in the offense? Why have him on the team if he only gets very limited snaps? Deuce and Span Forward have more, which I think, I think Deuce Vaughn had the same amount of snaps, but it's I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that, because at some point in that game, you're kind of going into evaluation mode a little bit too, I would imagine.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to play Deuce as much as they did early in the game, but if they didn't play Deuce and they did play Limpke, I don't think it would have that big of a change on the game, and there would be questions about that. After it'd be, well, why didn't Deuce get out there? It's just like we're already moving on to, well, what about how much longer until Dalvin Cook gets in there? So if it isn't one thing, it's going to be the other. So,
just a quick thought on scoring throughout the league. I noticed this, and then we'll get out of here, guys. Someone put up some metrics on here, and it is the rate. I'm trying not to be too boring. I'll just be quick here. The rate of defenses playing 2 high coverage, so 2 safeties. In 2017, it was 23%. In 2024, is doubled that. It's 47%. And I think the Cowboys did something on the first 2 drives without finishing it. But the Cowboys had 2 very long drives. And I think the 15-play drive is the new 15-yard chunk play. Because if teams are really doing that, and it's a trend, and everyone's copying each other, and they're saying, be patient, be patient, be patient, make these teams be patient, then I think that's almost how you have to move the ball to score points in the league now, if they're taking away big plays as much as they can. And that, to me, goes back to an investment on the offensive line, because if you're going to be put in a position where teams are doing everything they can to take away the big play by keeping as many safeties back there as they can, then you need to not have holding penalties, and you can't have sacks, which sounds so elementary, I know, when you say it, but like, a good offensive line can help you get those big, long drives. something to watch right now because scoring is down and explosive plays are down right now. And I think it does kind of go right to, dude, we are in 6 or 7 years difference. Teams are playing three guys, or they're playing, single high and things like that. And now it's kind of like, well, let's run the ball on us a little bit. And then, see if you can put together a big drive. There's kind of
McCarthy brings up how long play drives are all the time with the offense, whether the team wins or loses. I mean, he was very quick to point out about those first 2 drives that they had. They didn't get the touchdowns, but they were double digit, 13, 14, 15 play drives. And I do think that also factors in with the way that the defense was playing. You want to try and slow the game down and milk some clock here and not put your defense back out on the field. And so I do think there was some design to that early on in the game. Let's limit how many times New Orleans has the ball. But then again, you can also do that, feel like you're making some headroom, and then all of a sudden, one play drive, 70 yards, boom. Okay, now get back out there. So there's only so much you can do to that side of it. Also, when you talk about explosive plays, what do you think the longest run is for the Cowboys this year? How many yards?
Well, I was going to say 7.
No, it's longer than
that. 9?
No, it's longer than that.
15. You didn't have 15.
No, that's not crazy. It's not that explosive. 12 yards.
12 yards, yeah.
12 yards. And if we were going to compare that to the rest of the league, that would be, let's see. The Chargers have one of 61. There's just a lot of teams that have had at least 20 or more. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that haven't had a 20-yard carry. And I bring this up just because as you've watched the running game, I get it, small sample. Do you see much explosive running plays coming out of this? Because if you told me right now, hey, no, they're going to have like a 35-yard run or something like that, I'd be like, so was it some trick play where they handed to CD or Kevontae Turpin? I would never guess that it would be one of the running backs,
I mean, that 12-yard run is a CD run. It's not a running back run. So
you're right. Oh God. Holy cow.
And young Dalvin Cook, I think, could bring some of that. I just wonder if the Dalvin Cook that they have now is that guy either. You know what I'm saying?
Are they thinking
# unleash the deuce?
Are they thinking about him?
Dalvin Cook? I think they want to give him another week. No, I don't think he'll go this week, but maybe the following week. I mean, depending on how the run game goes.
Right? Week 4, short week, right? Yeah. Are they using deuce correctly? I mean, that's the inside run. I don't know if you're not seeing anything crazy with deuce yet.
He'd be the one running back who could break off a run, right?
I don't know. I really don't.
I don't either. I don't know how we could know. Right? There's just not enough evidence yet, I think.
Yeah.
But it has seemed like it's snap and then handoff. Like, it hasn't been anything just that's a little bit different. I don't know. Passing touchdowns through the league through 2 weeks, down. I think there was 3 last night, so I think that would be 69 or 68. Last year it was 86 through 2 weeks. The year before that it was 105 through 2 weeks. Passing touchdowns are way down. So defenses are doing something, and I think it's that whole idea of no matter what, we will stop the chunk plays. It's unbelievable that they let Shaheed get past them.
Yeah.
On that drive. He's the one guy who can go that fast. They don't have they don't have that many dudes. I was in shock, just covering my mouth. Like, how did that happen? And the same thing he did to Carolina,
And if it was just that one, or if there wasn't that play, I think that you'd really just focus on, no, it's just the Cowboys run defense needs to be fixed. But then when you have a play like that, where the run game had nothing to do with it at all, you're like, nah, I think the whole defense has got some issues.
Kent, you got a question in this thing?
Yeah, from Discord user at Kent Garrison to John. What's your review of the Green Day / Smashing Pumpkins concert that you attended last week?
I like Green Day, but they played too many songs. But it was good. They were good. I really like the Smashing Pumpkins because they sounded like they did in the 90s and they played all their hits. So I was happy about that. But no, it was a good show. And I thought it sounded pretty good in Globe Life. I've seen 2 concerts there now, and It isn't the complaints that you hear like about AT&T Stadium. So no, I thought it was good. I also wonder how sick are they of playing all those hits off like that Dookie album. How many times have they played all those? And then my last takeaway and final one is that it's crazy how much Billy Joe Armstrong looks like he did 20 years ago. And you can just make the comparison to like how much different he looks than the drummer looks from when he was younger. So
yeah, Trey Cool. I think that playing the deep cuts helps you not get as bored with the hits.
They have played
Play those
Longview and Basket Case from that album over 1,000 times live, according to Setlist FM alone.
I would say that was the best sounding concert I've seen at the Rangers ballpark. I saw the Chili Peppers and the Strokes there, and the sound was terrible where I was. And I saw, the Jonas Brothers there.
By yourself?
No, with Rocks. It was
no, yeah. You
I owed her one.
Allowed within 300 feet of the place.
So. Yeah, all right.
So I've been to a decent amount of concerts in my 42 years on this earth, and I need to ask you guys this because I'm just fascinated on how you feel about this, and I think that you guys are going to hate it. But what about the idea of playing one of your bangers twice, maybe early in the set, and then play it again at the end? And the only reason I'm saying it is because, like, I know you got there a little bit late, KT, but there were just some songs that Smashing Pumpkins played early, and it was just so easy. Like, forget even knowing anything about the band or who they were. You don't even have to know what music is. I could just put you in that arena, and the way people would sit down when they would play some of their newer stuff or some of their deep cuts, and how people would lose their mind over like 1979 and Disarm. And so there's a part of me where I'm just like, why don't you just play one of those again right at the end, just for fun, just to get everybody like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I absolutely understand that.
And I don't know if I've ever even seen that. And a lot of times what happens is they save that song for in the encore. So you're just kind of like, and then the other thing I was going to ask you guys is, how do you feel about going online and looking up the set list before? So I always do this at concerts because I'm able to space out when to like get a beer or go to the bathroom or whatever like that. So do you think it kind of ruins it for you though, when you know what's coming?
Go ahead, Kent, because I have an answer.
Hey, I know KT has thoughts on this. KT's he wants to know the set list.
Yeah.
Because he wants to know whether it's worth his time, when he can leave, go to the bathroom, things like that. I want to be surprised. But I love looking at the set list afterward, the day after, that kind of thing, and remembering the show. But I try not to look at the set list before the show.
And I'm very respectful of people if around who don't want to know. I will not be a spoiler in that. And the reason I'm like this with most bands, because my favorite band, who I've seen 36 times, have never played the same set list twice in their 30-year history. So you never know what you're going to get when you go to their show. So because I have that, which is like my favorite sports team, I track them with like stats. I'm in a fantasy league for that band, right? I pick their songs each night because you don't know the order and you'll never know what songs they're going to play. For other bands, I do want to know. I want to know, when do I need to go get a beer? When do I need to go take a whiz? Do we leave early or do we have to stay?
So I didn't go the last time your favorite band was here because of that, though.
Yeah.
Because when I saw them, it was back when you knew that they would play. Now, this is like 15 years ago. You knew you were going to get Ants Marching. Like you knew all. And I looked at their set list a couple days going right before that show, and I was like, not doing this. And that's the only reason why, because there was probably, let's say they played 20 songs. There were only like probably about 4 or 5 where I was like, I mean, I really want to see it. And then there were like 15 where I'm just, and the band that got me to do this, that got me real in on the set list thing, was Pearl Jam. And it's because this is when I was still living in Michigan, and they did back-to-back shows. And I went to the second day because it was Saturday, and they didn't play Jeremy or Daughter. And some people I was with were like, oh yeah, no, they did that yesterday. I'm like, well, they can do it again. Like, so for me, I do want to hear the hits,
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to go to both shows though. If you that's how those bands have been around forever and have a million
Green Day is the
songs
kind of band that you will hear the hits every time you see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Smashing Pumpkins, not so much.
Green Day's more in the realm of the Killers in that regard, where you're going to get the hits.
But I saw a comedian say this recently, comparing it to sports, and I think it's very true. It's the whole like, you spend all this money to go to a sporting event, and there you don't know how you're leaving that thing. You might leave as angry as you've ever been. A lot of Cowboys fans that were at AT&T Stadium on Sunday probably feel that way. I don't think I've ever left a concert and not been like, that was amazing. Like, what a great experience. I can't think of one. And there's so many sporting events where not only did I not leave that way, I left like as angry as I've ever been in my life.
My buddy Big Ben Rogers just told me about how much money he paid to go to the Cowboys game. Keep in mind, he lives up in Salina. Gets there. 2 rows behind him is a Saints fan who's blowing a whistle the entire game. Okay. And walking up and down the aisles, prancing. There's a guy in his row who had a walker, had to get up and go to the bathroom a few times. And at the end of the game, about the third quarter, he goes to his son, "Hey man, you cool if we leave early?" And his kid goes, "I don't really care, Dad. I like the Rams."
I mean, why are we letting people have parades after
what
the
a
game?
terrible day.
What do you want them to do, Ken? You want them to go out there and fight people?
No, but I want a little bit of order maybe from
Saints fans are partying, dude.
They shut down all the streets to throw their own parade.
Awesome. Win the game, and then
that's true.
A little Cowboys marching band can.
What do you want Cowboys fans to do after that game?
I'm not Cowboys fans. I'm talking about the authorities don't let them start a parade.
So the Arlington Police Department is supposed to stop the parade.
I mean,
dude, not that there's a ton of Saints fans there, I would imagine, right?
Oh yeah.
Are they the second most in DFW? The second biggest fan base, Saints?
Probably.
Chiefs maybe.
Oh, that's true. The front runner crowd. Yes.
Chiefs
yes.
That's
probably is now. Yeah. What was it? But what was it 10 years ago? What was it pre-Mahomes? It had to be the Saints.
It had to be the Saints. Yeah.
Mahomes is on that like whole Steph Curry where he's making everybody fans no matter where you're at. But
yeah, Travis, I guess a little bit too now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll come back and do another one tomorrow with a Ravens preview, because that is a big one, and we need to do our homework on the Ravens a little bit. They
do a little bit more homework than we did on the last one.
Yeah, maybe we'll not devolve into which season of The Office was worse, season 8 or season 9. That has apparently backfired on us.
So, oh man, Derek Carr said after the game he listened to our podcast, and that's what fired them up. They played it on the bus on the way to the stadium.
How many players on the 53-man roster knew what The Office is?
On the Saints?
50.
You think 50?
Well, on the Saints you're talking about, or just teams in general?
Just know what The Office is, team? Or have seen it?
I think know what it is.
50.
Have seen it then. 5? These are young people here, and we are not that anymore.
I'd go with like 15 to 20. I've seen an episode.
All I'm thinking about is how much the increase goes if you just made it to just that, if anybody's been around an NFL team, like during practices, training game, whatever, like you always see the kicker, punter, long snapper together. Now, if you just interviewed those guys, I think that's a high percentage. But when you bring in the whole locker room, I bet you it's less than 5% have seen the show.
Yeah. Well, there you go. NFL teams. There's a free social media bit for you. Go make a video. Impress us with your content. Please like, follow, subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Follow John and Sod's work over at The Athletic. They get stuff for you for days over there. And we'll be back with a Ravens preview tomorrow. For Kent, for John, for Sod, I'm Kevin. This has been the One Star Cowboys Podcast.
International Food and Garbage Festival.